We're now being joined by senior Supreme Court advocate Karuna Nundy and by gender rights activist Deepika Narayan Bharadwaj. Ms. Nundy, why don't I start with you? Whatever the merits and demerits of this particular clause are, I guess the first thing which we have to wrap our head around is, how is it actually going to be enforced? Are you going to have the policemen walking into people's houses in the middle of the night to see, are you roommates or are you living together? And what exactly are you doing? Is that how it's going to actually operate on the ground?
What's interesting is that when there were provisions in the US banning homosexual sex, that it was on this issue, the fact that the police can't come into your house and decide what you're doing on the grounds of privacy. That was one of the major grounds on which the law was struck down. So in this country, of course, we have a very robust right to privacy. There is Puttaswamy. And what that says, and it's a 9-judge bench, and what that says, the Supreme Court says, that there is no question of intimate decision-making being interfered with by the state, whether it's on the grounds of honor, and they say so explicitly, or whether it's on any other grounds. Of course, this is underpinned always because when we speak of intimate decision-making, we speak of the ability of the individual person to make decisions. So obviously, this is based on consent, it is based on bodily autonomy, it is based on all of these factors, all of these freedoms that every individual carries with them, regardless of who they are and where they are. So when it comes to marital rape, for example, or when it comes to, then people say that, but why should law be in the bedroom? You cannot have, privacy ends where bodily autonomy begins, you see? So you can't kill your wife in the bedroom. You can't molest your wife in the bedroom. So therefore you also, can't rape your wife in the bedroom.
All right, Ms. Bharadwaj, let me get your overall perception of this live-in clause. How is it going to be managed is the question all of us are asking. What does it also mean for privacy? What, for example, if your roommates deciding to sleep together? What if your roommates not living together, but one night you get drunk and get up to mischief? From now onwards, are you in a live-in relationship? And also, more specifically, the question of criminalization, which I think is the real issue here.
Vikram, at the outset, I think I agree to what Ms. Nundy said. I don't know how this is going to be regulated. Two individuals who are adults can decide about their life, whether they want to live, for how long they want to live together, and if they want to move out. The essence of a live-in relationship is that two people are coming together because they do not want to go through the rigmaroles of a married institution. There's no certain commitment as such, but they're exploring whether they want to live their life together for a longer time or not. It may turn into a marriage or it may not turn into a marriage. It's essentially called a live-in, live-out relationship. This is essentially comes from the West, in my understanding, but over there, wherever live-in relationships are legalized, I tried to read, but there aren't regulations the way we are bringing it in India.
Ms. Bharadwaj, I've had some people saying that the way it is worded, it's almost, simpler to get married and divorced than it is to actually be in a live-in relationship now, because if you're breaking up, for example, you don't necessarily have the police coming and doing an investigation and the possibility of being thrown into prison if you're doing something wrong.
Well, I kind of sort of disagree with you on that. If a marriage breaks down, you have to go through a divorce, and that's a longer procedure as well. Here, you can move out, but then there are repercussions only for the man, because he has to pay maintenance to the woman he was in live-in relationship with. The law says if he deserts her. If you have not registered the live-in relationship, there are, of course, criminal provisions. But like you said, yes, if you do not register a marriage under the UCC in Uttarakhand, there is, I think, only fine. So it's definitely tough. More than that, Vikram, it's going to really bring hesitation in people if they really want to get into a live-in relationship. The whole concept of live-in relationship was that you're making an individual choice. Your parents do not necessarily need to be involved in that. But here you are bringing registration process. It is mandatory.
Ms. Nundy, do you think this live-in clause is going to be challenged in any way? And you said at the Supreme Court, for example, there are already rulings on privacy. It could be challenged on that. Could it be on the grounds of fundamental liberties and fundamental rights and the question of criminalization? Where do you see this headed?
It could be challenged on a variety of grounds. It's not just on the grounds of privacy, it's also on the grounds of freedom, you know. So what a person does with their body is really their own decision as long as it's consensual, right? So that is something that is increasingly underpinning laws concerning a variety of relationships. Joseph Shine, of course, where the adultery provision was struck down is something that the current dispensation has sought to bring back in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. But also with a variety of other intimate issues. But there's something that also I think the framers must know, which is that if they are seeking to protect the woman with regard to maintenance, actually the domestic violence laws already apply. They're civil laws, as they should be. They say that if you live in a shared household together, and if there is violence, so in a variety of ways, then you can get the benefit of a shared right to residence. You can get maintenance. You can get a variety of things. So therefore, this law is entirely misguided. Also, what was somewhat amusing for me is that they seem to have brought in, unwittingly perhaps, a recognition of live-in relationships by queer couples. Because the law says whosoever, it doesn't say man and woman, right? There's one place where it says S/he, but it doesn't make clear that it has to be two people of the opposite sex. So frankly, if they took away the criminal provision, the criminalization of it, and they made it something like a civil partnership and included anyone who wanted to be in a civil partnership, that would be a very correct and progressive thing to do. That does not appear to be what they are, in fact, doing, though.
Ms. Bharadwaj, that was an interesting perspective. So, if the intention is to actually protect people who are in a live-in relationship, and let's give the benefit of the doubt to the Uttarakhand government and say, look, all they're trying to do is there should be some maintenance, there should be some rights, there should be some protection for people in a live-in relationship. Now, if that's the intention, then it's not that difficult to change this a little bit so that you keep the good and throw away the bad. You should just decriminalize it, for example, not make it compulsory or mandatory, say that this is an option that is given to people in live-in relationship, that they can register it, and then XYZ benefits flow from that. That's the logical, simple way to take it forward.
Vikram, I personally feel there has to be a framework somewhere, some rules definitely define and make things better in any society. Live-in relationships are a growing reality in India and across the world. There are certain frameworks within the civil laws to, sort of rule these relationships. So till that place, it is fine. I think non-registration and having that criminalized is something that is definitely questionable. Second thing is, of course, violation of right to privacy. Of course, we'll have to see if this gets challenged, what the court says. Something that I personally, with the cases that I deal on a daily basis, what I feel what has happened is going to be good at a larger level is that there were a lot of rape allegations that were coming out of live-in relationships where the woman said that the man had promised to marry her. He's not marrying her, and she ended up charging him with rape. If there is a registration, then at least such kind of allegations would not be made out because you are willingly submitting to a live-in relationship.
All right, Ms. Nundy, a last quick word from you. It's very possible that UCC is going to start rolling out in other states and maybe after the elections across the country. Do you think this sort of a provision is going to be there then in the UCC elsewhere as well?
I hope not. It's hard to tell. This is a particularly egregious provision, which is why everyone is talking about it. But also, I think there was a missed opportunity by the Supreme Court in the queer marriage, in the marriage equality case, because one of the challenges was to the Special Marriage Act notice provision, right? Which is that you have to put a notice saying if you are an interfaith or intercaste, etc., couple, which is typically the kinds of couples that get married under the Special Marriage Act, to say that you intend to get married. That was argued by one side, but that was not, unfortunately, decided by the court, right? Now, this is actually a similar provision, which is that if you are just living together, say your family doesn't want you to get married, and you say, okay, I'm a little hesitant to get married without my family's approval, so I'm going to live together. On pain of criminal penalty, you have to register that living together. Then the impact on vigilante groups is going to be very significant, in terms of legitimizing that. And given also the rise of the legislations prohibiting interfaith marriages, then somewhere in the mind of the executing police officer, there is the idea that, oh, this is illegal anyway, and what the vigilante groups is only are doing is only enforcing the law, right? Yeah. Even though all of it is very fuzzy thinking. So there is a huge danger there, and this provision, I really hope it goes.
All right, Ms. Nundy, Ms. Bharadwaj, thank you both so much for being with us. A really interesting provision, I guess interesting is the word, in the Uttarakhand UCC. Let's see where it actually goes. I mean, hopefully it will not be taken to those worst extents of policemen going around, knocking down people's doors, not just in Uttarakhand, but all over the country, saying, what exactly is happening in your bedroom? Are you sleeping together or are you not? Let's hope it doesn't come to that. And let's hope that better wisdom prevails. As we've been discussing, there are very simple ways in which this could become an enabling provision which gives rights to people without actually impinging either privacy or having criminalization. That would be the logical way to go. But let's see where we actually end up on that particular point.